Muy buenas tardes a todas las personas que nos acompañan el día de hoy. Reciban la más cordial bienvenida a nuestra nueva jornada del semestre de los Estados Unidos con el evento STEM Education 100K Strong for the Americas, donde contaremos con con el apoyo y la narrativa sobre el proyecto ganador de nuestra Facultad de Educación en conjunto con nuestros aliados de Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU. Nuestro evento del día de hoy será en inglés. Sin embargo, podremos traducir sus preguntas que hagan en español en nuestro chat para que nuestros panelistas las puedan contestar. Entonces, pasaremos desde este instante al inglés. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the STEM Education 100K Strong in the Americas. Before we begin, our International Relations Coordinator, Maria Claudia Coral Betancourt, will give us a welcome greeting. Maria Claudia, I yield you the floor.
Thank you, Laura. Todavía no desde inglés, desde el área de Relaciones Internacionales le damos la bienvenida a toda la comunidad universitaria para disfrutar de esta nueva jornada de nuestro semestre de Estados Unidos. This activity is part of our internationalization strategy on campus, which is now being carried out from home through events that will enrich us. Today, we're proud to share the winning project of our School of Education in the 100K Strong in the Americas Fund. We are also excited to welcome our Virginia Commonwealth University partners. I know this session will be very inspiring for our community and faculties. You are all invited to continue to participate in our US semester. Next week, we will have both an academic and cultural event with Purdue University on November 17 and Sabor USA on November 18. We also welcome everyone to join the singing challenge. Laura, please welcome our guests.
Thank you, Maria Claudia, for that introduction and for those words. And today we are very delighted to welcome our colleagues and partners from the Virginia Commonwealth University, Dr. Mo Deba-Green and Mr. Benjamin also. Thank you very much, both of you, for being with us today. I would like to read a short profile of you both before we start. So, starting with Dr. Mo Deba-Green, he obtained his PhD in education with a focus on curriculum, culture, and change at Virginia Commonwealth University. He also has a master's degree in curriculum and instruction with a concentration in instructional technology from VCU, a PhD in languages, culture, and communication, and a master's degree in humanities and area studies from abroad. Dr. Green is a Fulbright recipient who has a record of significant and productive leadership in the areas of instructional technology, English language program management, accreditation, assessment, and curriculum development. He currently serves as the Associate Director of VCU's English Language Program. In his current position, he works with both faculty and staff to design and develop programs that maximize the educational experience of international and underrepresented students through access, diversity, and engagement. His research interest is in instructional technology, and he examines how the intersection of emerging technology with non-cognitive factors, such as race and ethnicity, impact teachers' knowledge development, application of instructional technology, and finally, student learning outcomes. Thank you, Dr. Mo, for being with us today. And now, going on to Benjamin Olsen's profile. He obtained his master's degree in higher education from University of Oslo and has a BA in political science from University of Washington. He joined the School of Education in January 2020 after working as an international student advisor at Green River College. Ben has a very extensive international experience, including living in 4 countries and traveling to 21 others. As a program coordinator for the International Education Study Center, Ben coordinates a variety of short-term programs working with partner universities. He also works to develop new programs and university partnerships. Welcome, Ben, and thank you for being here. And last, but certainly not least, we want to welcome our own Dean of the School of Education, Dr. Marta Montiel Chamorro. Dr. Marta Montiel holds a PhD in education and a master's in educational leadership from Virginia Commonwealth University. She also holds a BA in modern languages from Universidad Pontificia Bolivariana in Medellín, Colombia. She's been in the education field for 25 years, where she has been able to teach and develop projects at all educational levels. She has worked at Universidad de Antioquia, Universidad de Afit, and was part of the pioneers that started the North Carolina World Virtual Public School in the United States. She's currently the Dean of our School of Education here at Universidad del Bosque. Dr. Marta Montiel, Thank you for being here with us and welcome. We are going to start today's agenda with Dr. Marta Montier's introduction, followed by Dr. Mo and Ben, who will share their side of this collaborative experience. And finally, we will go on into a Q&A session to answer all of your questions. I remind everyone who's listening to us and viewing us today that this event is going to be recorded, and you will be able to find it here in the same link at our YouTube channel of the university. The questions from our audience are welcomed throughout all the event, and they will be answered at our Q&A session. Finally, remember that if you need to do so, we're able to translate your questions to English, so you can put them in Spanish in the chat and we will translate them so that our participants and our guests can understand the questions live. Without further ado, I want to turn it over to Dr. Marta, who will be presenting and also moderating today's discussion. Dr. Marta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Mo and Ben, for being here with us today. It's a very great opportunity for us to share this experience. And for the School of Education, it's been a great honor and pleasure to have had the opportunity to pair up with Virginia Commonwealth University to prepare the proposal we presented to the 100K Strong in the Americas initiative. We certainly learned a lot because we were new at this, and the team at VCU was very experienced. So we actually feel like we are very happy because we won the proposal, but also because our proposal was a winner, but also because we learned during the process. Our first time, and we did it, and it was because of you. So we really thank you. And I wanted to tell the audience that we came up with this idea together. We looked for areas and challenges we could aim at and that would be interesting and useful for students at El Bosque, but also for students at VCU, but also for our educational systems. It was not an easy task to do because we are like, okay, what are we going to look for that is interesting to everybody and that everybody wants to join and participate? Well, we thought of an idea that integrates early education, early childhood education, STEM instruction, and inclusive or special education. These three areas are in the agenda right now in Colombia and in the United States. So we thought that would be a great idea if we could put up some ideas together and come up with a very strong proposal, which we did. When we were able to put our ideas together, it was wonderful, and we knew we had something powerful. We are very happy, as I mentioned earlier, to have Mo and Ben with us today, who are going to share with us the process, and who will talk about the proposal in detail. So, Mo and Ben, welcome. All yours.
Thank you so much for the introductions, and thank you for welcoming us to this event. We really appreciate it. We appreciate it. We are very excited about this collaboration, and we're also excited to be here with you today. So I wanted to say that in the process of writing the proposal, we learned a lot from you as well. So this was a teamwork, and we are excited about this, and we're happy that that our proposal was funded. So what the purpose of today's presentation is to share some of our experience writing the proposal, coming up with ideas, and then working together. At the end, we're going to provide some resources, but we're going to have a lot of time. We'd like to have a lot of time for discussion and to be able to answer the questions from the attendees. We have a PowerPoint presentation that we prepared for the workshop. I think everyone can see it now. Is that correct? Let me see right here. Okay, so I think from my end, at least I can see it, and I'm assuming that everybody else can see it. So I wanted to say that working on this proposal was a teamwork, and a teamwork at different levels, or all levels. Teamwork in trying to identify an area for us to work on, coming up with a title, identifying the themes and everything else. So in thinking about this proposal, we decided to focus on early childhood education and early childhood special education teacher candidates. And we wanted to find an area where we can contribute to the field, and also an area of greater impact. So all of us from both universities, you can see some names here. And I know that there are a lot of other people who worked on this proposal behind the scenes, because it takes a village, as we say, it takes a village to really come up with good work. And as you can tell from this slide, so it's a lot of people, and also a lot of colleagues with different expertise in different areas. That's how we were able to put together this proposal. So in thinking about the proposal, so I will not go into details about what each of us has done, but I wanted you to know that the team will continue to work together to implement this proposal. And we have a team on the budget, a team on to make travel arrangements, content development, and so just different teams on different areas. So what I would like to share, I'm going to share with you our experience in writing the grant proposal, our collaboration strategies, and the benefits of the 100K grant. And then at the end, we will share with you some of the resources that we think will be useful to those who are interested in writing or submitting a grant proposal. And also, I want you to know that Virginia Commonwealth University wanted to be a resource for you as well, and also in collaboration with Bosque University. We'll be happy to help in any way we can. We always try to expand our collaboration with other colleagues, students, and universities. So in trying to write the proposal, so we went through a lot of stages. It was a learning experience for us as well. As I said at the beginning, I know that Virginia Commonwealth University, submitted grant proposals in the past for 100K, and I'm proud to say that I think we have 5 proposals that have been funded thus far, including this one. This year, we have another proposal that is funded with the University of Guadalajara. So we used our expertise and experience with the grant to just to define the scope of the grant. The first step was for us to go through the grant proposal, the grant itself, and try to understand the requirements, eligibility, and format, because that's key. That's very, very important. So it's very important in writing a grant proposal. It's very important that to follow the guidelines and the requirements, as you can tell from this slide. So the grant was or is a 10-page. It's a 12-page grant, and it has different sections from just the cover page to executive summary to the evaluation plan. So it has different sections, and each section has its own requirements. The 2 universities, Bosque University and VCU, work together to identify what goes into each section and our impact and innovation in each area. And also there was a team that worked on the budget. The grant required a budget, of course, and of course a budget narrative as well. And then also we worked together on collecting documents like letters of support, CVs, and other things. And also in the process of just trying to prepare to write the grant, we agreed on an area to work on together. The grant suggests a lot of areas, and some of them focus on science, on STEM education. Another area focuses on distance and virtual education, social sciences, and other areas. So we chose STEM education. So we worked on another step that we followed was identifying opportunities for collaboration, because that's key too. I think in writing a grant, it's very important to identify the impact and need, and how two universities can contribute to education of their students and faculty. So we research areas that fit our institutional interest and possibilities for innovation, and we try to align our academic strengths, objectives, and goals, so that it takes two universities and it takes a lot of teams. And the goal of our joint proposal was to strengthen early childhood education and early childhood special education teacher candidates STEM knowledge, skills, and increase collaboration between the two universities. The grant required coming up with clear objectives. These are the three objectives that we came up with together. The first one focuses on enhancing the skills and knowledge of the candidates. That includes intercultural competency as well. And the second objective, it focuses on increasing collaboration, innovation, and information sharing in STEM education. And the third one is establish sustainable partnership between the two universities. Establishing partnership, that's a goal too, and it's important for the sustainability of the program. We are very, as I said at the beginning, we are very excited about this collaboration, and our goal is to continue this collaboration beyond the grant. We will be exploring ways to extend this collaboration, and also to find other areas for collaboration and innovation as well. So the proposal states that that we will have two phases in this program. Phase one will include an online course that's offered to students from VCU, and I mean to say students, VCU students and Bosque University students that will be offered this course. This online course on STEM education will be offered by professors from VCU and Bosque University. And in addition to a course in STEM education, there will be English language support that will be provided to students as well. In phase two, students, Bosque University students will come to VCU, and VCU students will attend the Bosque University. So, and also because, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, that we won another grant in collaboration with University of Guadalajara. We're thinking of having one team from 3 universities, and all our students will be participating in a practicum when they are here, and also in a symposium, so to share ideas and to collaborate on different projects. And this also will involve developing students intercultural competency. They will be attending a lot of sites here in Richmond and areas around Richmond as well. So now I'm going to turn it over to Ben. He's going to share with all of us some of the collaboration strategies for the grant.
Thanks, Mo. Yeah, when you're going through a grant like this, there is a lot of moving parts, and I think that's maybe, like Martha said, and also like Mo said, you have to bring people that have different skill sets, that also are willing to collaborate. I think that's one of the biggest things. And even talking about collaboration to begin with, having Dr. Marta actually study at VCU is kind of the start of this whole collaboration. And when we can find, grants that are focused on certain issues, or in this case, it was between 2 different countries, the US and Colombia, that's just a good starting place to find. You got to keep your eyes open and be constantly looking for grants, but also ways that we can collaborate together. And from my perspective, being in the School of Education, we also tied in Mo's department with the international department, and then also with Marta in the School of Education at El Bosque, which really, I think, when you have people coming from these different areas, it helps you to create a more I think, a more diverse, but also more compelling grant or a grant application. As you can see here, we're talking about inside of those moving parts, you have a lot of things like, you want to focus on and be detailed in like the number of participating students. This also goes into the budget, like Mo said, when you have a budget that you lay out, it's important to have every line filled in and make sure that the budget would be able to cover all these costs. That also goes for travel. It's not only just students, it's also administrators or faculty that'll be going. And I think this is another good point where with at least this 100K grant is they are pretty descriptive in the way that what they're looking for. And so when you can see when they're asking these questions, make sure that you have in your budget, but also in the narrative, that you're answering these questions that they want, or also focusing on what they want in the grant. And that's why we also focused on STEM education, because that was one of their highlighted goals. And then also that's with student credit, that was a part of this 100K grant request as well, is that they wanted to make sure that students were not only just having experience, but also having credit. And so that was something that we had to work with, because there are some issues with universities and bureaucracy where you have, certain ways of earning credit, but that's another thing where you have to explain in your narrative how you're going to make this work with students' credit, and make sure that this is not just a learning experience outside of the classroom, but also has some of that classroom value. Going on, when you have to collaborate with university unions on budget and cost sharing is, I think, a big thing that when I started doing some of the grant writing is, it can be stressful to have a lot of work put on different units, but that's where having different people or a good amount of people involved, like you saw on that one slide, that makes it easier to do some cost sharing. And also it makes your grant application even more attractive to 100K grants and other grants as well, because that shows that you are also, as a university or as a unit, that you're investing in the project. And like Mo said, this is in a lot of ways seed funding. So we get this grant this year, and hopefully we are able to build this program in a great way, and so that in the future we can continue this program even without the grant funding. The other thing right here is deadlines are extremely important, and making sure that they are also attainable. If you start putting deadlines and also goals that you can't do, they might look at it and say, these are great ideas, but it doesn't seem like it's possible for you guys to do them. Managing partner relations is also important. That's maybe one of my bigger roles, is having good levels of communication between people, and also having defined roles. Like when we have our meetings, we have roles for everyone that's involved in what they're going to be doing for the grant, and deadlines for what we're going to be doing next. Even today, me and Mo and also another colleague were meeting and talking about, how we're going to get the next steps done so that we can make sure that everything is done on the right time. Lastly, this is one of those things, and like Mo mentioned, that there is a lot of benefits to the 100K Innovation Fund, and these are the first two that I've been involved with, both this one and the one with, like Mo mentioned, with Guadalajara. It's an interesting fund just because it really does work specifically between Latin American countries and the US, and specifically mostly within universities. Like I said, this partnership or this grant wouldn't have been possible without the first collaboration, or the first point of Dr. Marta making, actually, I think, starting a relationship with our dean here at the School of Education. And so it kind of starts small in that way, but then you can see how it grows into a lot of different things. But as you can see here, it really is supporting not only the creation of strategic partnerships, but also developing ours. Like I said, Dr. Marta met our dean before this grant, and this is a way for us to broaden our partnership and make it stronger. It also, once again, it increases student exchange. This program is not only going to bring students from your university to our university, it's also bringing students from our university to your university. I think this, as was mentioned in my bio, I've traveled quite a bit, and also even to Colombia and Bogota. And, there's one thing to have, something like this where we're doing it online, but being able to be in person, being on the ground, getting to see the cultural differences, and also being in different classrooms and different learning environments. Like I was also mentioned, I did my master's at the University of Oslo in Norway, and education is different in every country, but this also adds a lot of value to the program. Lastly, it also provides new opportunities for students, and like I said, like not in multiple academic disciplines, and you're going to gain knowledge that you wouldn't be able to have in training from just either at your home university, and it's specifically also this cohort model is that we have with this 100K grant, you have people coming from different countries, but then also there is a cohort. So you have a classmates that you're going to be developed. And that's like Mo said, from the VCU side, we are really wanting to add support. And I think that this benefits not only our students, but your students and also our faculty and your faculty. So it's not just a one-time thing. It's it's a relationship. And I know from my studies abroad as well, like the relationship you build with students or friends through a program like this, they're ones that last a lifetime. And I think that's another point of why this fund is so important, is that it's creating value in a variety of different ways, from the international or from the university standpoint, from the faculty standpoint, and also from the student standpoint. Lastly, and I think these slides will be shared with you, but we do have some resources. So if you are interested in applying for a 100K grant, you can see the links there. And like I said, they have a lot of resources, even on tips on how to apply, what your budget should look like and all these different things. And so it is a really great fund in that way, where especially if you're if this is one of your first grant applications, they have a lot of resources. And also the people that run the grants are very helpful in helping you figure out even a partner, or, even how to write the budget or the narrative and what they're exactly looking for. But I think that's all from us. And Mo, if you had any last words.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. So I agree with everything that you said, and I wanted to add that so again, we are very excited about this collaboration, and I'm really happy that we are able to get this grant in collaboration with Bosque University, and I know that we're going to have a lot of other areas to work on together.
Well, thank you, Mo and Ben. I would like to add something, and it's that right now we are in the process of recruiting and selecting students. So this is a great opportunity for you students out there to learn about this and apply, because we are opening now our recruiting process, and it's a great opportunity to go and meet the beautiful region of Richmond, Virginia, which I personally love. Can't wait to go back. And as Ben and Mo mentioned, an opportunity to learn about their culture. And it's true, educational systems are different everywhere, but we also have things in common. So the beauty of it is seeing those differences and things that in which we are similar. Because when you go through one of these international experiences, you will never be the same. I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. I remember the first time I had this opportunity, and I was like, your life is going to change forever. I'm like, they're exaggerating. They were not. It did. My life changed forever because of one of these experiences. So I totally encourage students to do this, to pursue dreams outside the country, because the world is too big to be just in one place. So this is a great opportunity to do that. And also for the students at VCU to come here and see something totally different. I'm sure it's going to be enriching for their academic lives as well. So now, please don't be shy, students, teachers out there, ask questions. And I'm going to see if we have any here. Well, it doesn't matter. You don't have to write in English. You can, okay, we have a question, and it's a very good one. Is it required to be into STEM or have any prior knowledge on it to apply? It's a question by Oscar Maesha Alajon.
So I guess that both of us can take this question, right? would you like to start? Or do you want me to I can take this question for VC.
You can, yes. So.
Yeah, so in general, the goal of the grant is to strengthen our relationship in STEM education. Therefore, a requirement for a student, at least for now, based on how the proposal was written, is for the student to be in STEM education.
Yes, the idea is like, for example, in our early childhood program, we do have some knowledge about STEM education. It's not like we are engineers or mathematicians or any of that, but we do study like how to teach little children areas like math or introduction to engineering. It's something that we do now. So that's the knowledge you require. It's not like you require, as I said, to be like an expert, but at least to have that knowledge that you learned in your program. Because at least here, I know you guys there have it too, like you are taught or you are presented strategies on how to teach math or science or technology to little ones. So yeah, that's the knowledge you need. So you know what you're going into. Yeah. Another question from Anita Verdugo. Good afternoon. My name is Ana Verdugo, and I'm part of the 8th semester within the Early Childhood Education Bachelor. My question would be, how long does each phase take?
Okay, so I talked about the 2 phases of the program. Phase 1 is an 8-week online course, and it's tentatively scheduled to be offered in spring, around March, and then after that there will be phase 2 of the program. It's a 1-week exchange program, and then in addition to this, students will have an orientation, a virtual orientation, before they enroll in the program. And we would like to be a resource for the students beyond the grant. And there will be possibly the completion of some work after the 1-week visit.
Thank you, Mo. Any other question, you guys out there? I'm sure we're going to have like plenty of room to answer your questions after this as well, in the School of Education. But this is a great opportunity because you're not going to have Ben and Mo every day here. So this is a great moment to ask questions. As mentioned earlier, we're going to choose 6 students to go to Virginia Commonwealth University next year. It's only 6. So you want to be one of those 6.
And I wanted to say it's going to be a great experience. Exciting experience for sure.
And VCU is very nice. I mean, it is. So
well, we have some extra questions that are not on the main chat on YouTube, but in a subsidiary chat that I would like to share with you guys now. So the first one is, do you have any tips when you're preparing the budget so that we really do take into account everything? Because I think that that's one of the trickiest parts, to make sure that you really are budgeting in the right way.
Yes, we learned a lot in the process of coming up with a budget for the proposal. So I think one thing that's really important is to understand what you want to do with the program, and outlining your goals will help you identify budget areas for those programs or activities. So first tip is, have clear and concise objectives and student activities. You can outline them and everything. That way you can factor in with program fees. That's very important. Another thing is the template is provided for the budget itself and for the budget narrative. Follow the template. That's what they say. That's very important. I know it sounds easy, but I think based on an info session that I attended a long time ago, they said that sometimes people don't follow the requirements for the budget. the template that's provided. Another thing is, identify roles and responsibilities of each colleague or member or the person who will be participating in the grant, because that you will have to define them. You define those roles and then how much time they will spend on achieving the objectives of the assigned to them, of the grant assigned to them. That way you can, factor in the costs, program costs, program fees, flights, and take into consideration whether you have a goal for an exchange, like staff exchange, for example. In our case, we have a faculty that who will be going with the students. That's something that we took into consideration in coming up with the budget. And also cost share. That's very important too. So you need to look at how you would like to cost share some things. In regards to it can be in relation to program activities, travel. It can be other things.
Okay, we have 3 more questions. One is, can faculty members go to, from Margarita Estrada? Well, you had to be part of the planning team to be able to go this time. So we're probably like 2 people are probably traveling from the School of Education, but next time, Margarita, we make sure that you participate and you are part of this. And from Ana Verdugo, we have, according to your previous experience, how does STEM education affect children? Who wants to take this? Ben, maybe?
Sure. I mean, I think STEM education, it's definitely kind of a hot button issue, I guess you could say, nowadays. And it's because in the future, we're going to need students that are trained with more science, more technology, engineering, and just math in general. Yes, I think of myself as being more of I really enjoyed liberal arts and stuff like that. So I wasn't as much of a math person, but I think this is why this is really important, because the skills that you learn through a program like this, or just learning how to better teach these subjects, it does make it better for students in that environment. And that's really what a lot of this is about, is creating a better learning environment for students. And then that also makes teaching easier as well.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Another question from Ana and one from Miguel. Romana says, what was the most difficult obstacle you overcame when you were planning this proposal? But from the part of the Universidad del Bosque was probably, getting everything done on time to be able to present to the board of directors and get the approval, where I had to go and explain every single detail and make sure like I was held accountable for many of this. I'm like, okay, how are you gonna do this? And how are you gonna... So I had that's the thing I would say was more difficult, but other than that, it was easy. As I mentioned earlier, VCU has a lot of experience and that makes things much easier. I don't know, you guys at VCU, any obstacles you can think of?
I think we have the same thing in terms of us getting everything approved. So we have a process here in Virginia Commonwealth University. Everything needs to be approved by an outside unit, a unit at VCU, but not in School of Education or a Global Education Office. And they look at everything, the budget itself, the budget narrative, the budget, the proposal, to make sure that it's doable, it's attainable, and all those things. It's good to have people look at your proposal, but also you develop strategies to work with them as well.
Same thing, you see. And from Miguel says, what requirements does faculty require to apply? I think you mean students, not faculty members, but students. What requirements do students require to apply? Well, certain level of English, of course, to be enrolled in the early education program, the childhood education program, and to be in at least the 4th semester, like at least in the 2nd year. I think that's pretty much it. I don't remember. Yeah. Do you guys remember?
Yes, we are adding one thing. It really depends on how you defined underrepresented minority students.
Right.
That's the focus of the grant. I know, so we are very inclusive in how we define the, underrepresented minority students.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I also wanted to add that students who participate in this grant will be able to earn credits towards graduation.
I would like us to talk a little bit about the partnership parts, because I think that this is one of the most challenging parts of all of it. So I would like to first ask you guys, how do you go about to search for a partner? How do you search for a partner that really lines up with your ideas, that actually works out with what you want to do, and that you can see eye to eye, but at the same time complement each other so that it's a fruitful partnership? I think that Ben is like nodding his head. So Ben, go ahead. You can tackle this one.
Yeah, I guess this is a fairly big part of my job day to day. And since I've been working here, I think we've gained maybe 4 or 5 partnerships just in the last year and a half. I mean, I would also say it would be fun to hear Marta talk about the relationship that we have, because it really started with the relationship with her and my dean in the School of Education here. I would say though, and that's also what I would say, is that the really important part is finding a faculty member or some personal connection between universities. I think it is possible to start relationships with other universities outside of that, but a lot of times, and if you look back in the past like 5 or 10 years, there has been a lot of international initiatives, kind of like what's going on in your university, where they want international partnerships, but there isn't, and they just create a lot of partnerships, but then there is nobody that's really the contact person, and the relationship can kind of not go anywhere. And I think so, like I mentioned, with those last 4 partnerships we've made, were personal connections with our associate dean, with some other previous colleagues, but also just international connections. And so, like I said, that's, I think, maybe the most important stepping stone to do it. And then also, once again, it goes back to even like with this grant, like you have to keep in contact, and you have to find even like this, where you have to find goals that you have in common, and create some that are maybe something that you can achieve in a short term, but also long-term goals, and also how to achieve them. I would say during this last year and a half with the pandemic, it's made things much more challenging. But this is a great example of, we applied for this during the pandemic, but now as we're coming out of it, we're going to be able to even start. And so that's where planning comes involved. And also just, you have to be able to sidestep one way or the other and still get things accomplished. But Marta, it would be great to hear about what your experience.
Right, I agree. I think that what it takes is willing to do things. And in order to do that, you do need personal connections. We're human beings. We are all social and all about network. And yes, we were able to partner with VCU because I was there. I applied first for my master's, and then came back here, and then went back there for my PhD. And at the end of the process, I met Andrew there, Dr. Andrew there, who's the Dean of the School of Education there. And we, kind of had a very good relation from the beginning. And he was like, let's do something together. And I was like, yeah, of course, why not? And then he came here. Like, it was great because he was like, I'm going in May. I'm like, okay. And he came. And he came here in a very good moment, because we were finishing a process with the ACE, in which we had to go, the president of the university and 2 other colleagues and myself. We were in Washington, and there was Dr. McKenna. I don't know if you remember him from VCU. And it was kind of like everything worked together. Like when Andrew came, many things were like so good for to start a very strong relationship. And we haven't stopped since then. I mean, we're like looking for opportunities to provide internationalization opportunities again for our students and VCU students. So yeah, it's all about relations, definitely, because as you mentioned, Ben, many times you get these wonderful partnerships, but if there is nobody else, nobody there to make it work, they won't work. So it's about people at the end.
Thank you both, and I really resonate with that you're saying, because we do have a lot of examples that you have dead agreements, because you have the agreement, it's written down, but if there's no one willing to shoulder in and be like, okay, we're doing this, guys, it just fizzles out. It just fizzles out. So thank you. I really do get that and understand where you're coming from. And I would like to follow up this question about partnerships with, how do you tackle it when things do not go as you wanted to or expected to, when things go a little bit out of path and you don't see eye to eye, side by side, and you're like, okay, we've got some issues here and we've got to work them out. How do you actually work them out, making sure that the partnership remains intact? Because I think that that's a great challenge, being able to state what's wrong and what's going on without jeopardizing the already happening relation. So who would like to tackle this one?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it goes back to, like Marta was saying, it's about personal relationships, and any relationship you have with anyone, you don't, like, if it's your brother or sister or even your friend or your parents, you don't always get along sometimes, or you know, things just, you don't see eye to eye. I would say, like, in my experience so far, that a lot of it is, like I said from the beginning, having kind of established goals or ways that you can collaborate that you see eye to eye on, or there's benefit for both of you. Because I think that this can also be an issue, like you said, when sometimes universities make have an MOU or have an understanding, and then, you know, it kind of dies out because maybe one university is trying to go for one reason, the other one's going for another, and they're not in connection. But going for that, if there is a problem that comes up, I think communication is really important. You have to be able to sit down and talk out what's the problem, how to make it happen. And you know, it does take time, which I would say, like, even, you know, like in a meeting like this where, you know, you're going to have to shave off some time of your day for it. But usually every time I've done that, like, it usually works out really well. And that's where it's just having open forms of communication, and maybe not even a meeting, but emails, like, you know, hey, I don't know if this really works for us. Like, how can we change it, make it work? I think technology also comes in with, especially nowadays with like Google Docs and stuff, you can all be working on the same, like a budget narrative or something like this, or a grant narrative, all at the same time, and, you know, even be talking while you're doing it and working through it in a very collaborative way. And then I think also allows for it to be a more dynamic process, and to make it, if there are problems, to solve them in a quicker way.
Okay, thank you, Ben. We do have some comments and questions from the audience. Lady Fajardo says, how long does the program take? Well, it's going to be for an entire semester, including some summer. So it's going to be like spring and summer 2022. And Ana Verdugo asks, what's the long-term goal for the proposal? I mean, farther from the second phase? Well, here, I don't know. I'm going to try to answer this. Please interrupt me if you need to. Well, as Mo mentioned, and Ben too, the idea, when you live or you go through one of these experiences, you never stop there. You create long-term relationships. And what we want is that our students, with the cohort they are with the Universidad de Guadalajara and VCU, because they're going to be there at the same time, like, they actually build relations that last longer. And I'm sure many things that we are not seeing now are going to come up then, because they're probably going to come up with ideas themselves that we will be more than happy to support if we can. And as a second phase, well, right now, like, let's see how this goes. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from what we're about to experience, and then maybe we can come up with some other proposal, like a follow-up of this one for the next time that we have this grant out there for us. I don't know if you want to add anything to what I just said, Mo and Ben.
Or Ben, you want to add something?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, you know, like I mentioned earlier, this is in a lot of ways, and if you look at the 100K grant funds in general, they're kind of like seed funding. So it is the idea that you take this money and you start a program, but you kind of like, it's like kind of building a building, but then, you know, in the future, you can still use that building, right? And that's the idea here, is that we create a program, we have, you know, and once you do a program once, like Marta said, you kind of work out a lot of the little details and problems that can come up. So then next year it'll be easier to do, and maybe we can open it to a wider audience. And hopefully, there's also ways of getting even future grant funding, maybe not even from 100K, but from another fund that can help, create scholarships for some students. Because I mean, that's really, in the end of the day, with any kind of international exchange, is the cost. And we understand that it is expensive to travel, but we also see that these experiences, like Marta said, are really important. And I would also add to that where, even having some faculty go back and forth, we're kind of hoping that that'll kind of spawn maybe some research collaborations that can also lead to other like research focused grants. But also for students, this is, I think I look back to even my academic journey, and I think Mo and Marta could also agree with me. You don't really know exactly where you're going to end up, but this could be the start of something else, even in those ways, with just maybe looking 5 or 10 years in advance. But there's a lot of times where I've met professors that have gone on an experience like this, or even students, and later in their life, if they are very academically focused, could be doing research collaborations in the future as well.
Yeah, I agree with.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to be brief. I agree with Ben. This is the beginning of our long-term collaboration, and we'll be looking at other grants and other ways to enhance our exchange programs for faculty and for students. And as Ben said, research VCU has been moving towards prioritizing research and global engagement.
Well, thank you, Mo and Ben. There is a comment here from Luisa Manjarres. It says, VCU is an amazing university. If you have the chance, you have to apply. I lived one of the most amazing experiences there. Thank you, Luisa. Diana Carolina Uribe is asking a question. Excuse me?
Sorry to interrupt you, but sadly, we run out of time.
Really, we did? Oh
yes,
my God.
So this would have to be the last question. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. And everyone again. So
yes, one
that's
last question.
The little interruption, yes. But
taking into account your experience, have you ever faced any difficulties applying the STEM methodology with children? Right now, like, I don't know, Mo, it's from the language, his area of expertise is language, right? Language teaching. Ben is in liberal arts as well, and me too. Neither of us has been like a STEM teacher or professor right now, but as Ben mentioned, right now the current situation in the world requires teachers to be knowledgeable and skillful in STEM. Children need to know this. They need to know coding, because that's not the future, that's the present. That's what they need. So we are like adjusting, we are moving towards that. All of us will need to learn eventually. So probably the difficulties right now, it's getting these adults that we are now to learn so we can teach the little ones, or we can help them, grow their own. That's probably one of the most difficult things right now, but it's because we're in that transition in the generations. Once that's over, because as I tell you, it's in a few years, all teachers, for example, will have to know about coding. They will have to program things. They will have to, for example, right? So that's probably one of the most difficult things right now, because of the transition in generations. That's how I see it, being a person from the liberal arts as well. And yeah, that was the last question. Anna, you can go to the School of Ed, talk to Laura Lopez Portela, and she will help you out with if you are interested in applying. We'll be more than glad to have you. Okay, so thank you very much for this invitation, for this opening. Thank you, Mo and Ben, for being here with us today. It's an honor. Honestly, VCU is a great university. It's an honor to have you here. Laura?
Thank you, Dr. Marta Montiel, and thank you, Mo and Ben, for accompanying us today, for accepting this invitation, as Dr. Montiel just said. It was a very enriching session for everyone who heard us, and I think that a lot of people is going to be very excited to go to VCU and visit. It's a beautiful university, and the region that it's in, it's amazing. In this time of the year, I think it's one of the best ones of all. So thank you for sharing with us all this experience, all this valuable experience that you have acquired throughout this this last year of work. And thank you to our audience for joining us today. I hope that we are able to see you next Wednesday, November the 17th at 3 p.m. with our next event of the U.S. semester in Universidad Bosque, which would be international research internships in the United States. And we will have our guest from Purdue University. So do remember to get into this session as well so that you can learn everything about this topic. Finally, I remind everyone that you can find all the information required for the international semester in our website, which would be semestreinternacional.bosque.edu.co, and that you can share your experience in our social networks with the hashtags GoForItUAB and United States at UAB. I hope to see all of you guys very soon and have a very good afternoon.
Thank you.